everyone, I hope you're all doing so well and welcome to this little review of the Jackson's Art Supplies Aluminium panel. Weekly shout out goes to Art. I will leave a link to the channel below, please check it out, and if you would like to be featured on my weekly shout out, all you have to do is subscribe, press the bell and comment review. So I ordered this sample from Jackson's Art Supplies. This is the sample that they offer. I mentioned in my last video that it's almost always sold out whenever I checked on there, but I just happened to be ordering something else and it miraculously was in stock, so I got it because I've wanted to try it for some time. This sample cost around £2 to £3 and it's 5 by 5 inches. It's not obviously the size that they normally sell. I don't think they actually sell this size apart from in a sample, but you could check on that because I'm not 100% sure. And in terms of buying bigger panels in this aluminium, it is more around the price of an oil primed linen. So you are looking at pricey, luxury panels. In terms of what paint you can use on these aluminium panels, I did some research and found that you can't really use acrylic on it. However, I did discover a couple of videos on YouTube of people painting with acrylic on these panels, so I guess it's just one of those things where you'd have to experiment on. But I do think, having used it, that oil paint works on this surface absolutely beautifully. Surface feeling and texture is incredibly smooth, so I thought this is going to be so difficult to paint on. My paint is going to slip around, it's going to slide, it's going to be like one of those super smooth panels that you get that sort of feel like painting on glass, but your paint just doesn't grip onto the panel properly and you end up with a big mess, or you just spent ages trying to get any sort of blend and then your paint like completely dulls. But I don't know whether you can see the surface of this. I'm going to see if I can try and like flash it around. It's very difficult. Oh, there we go. You can see that the paint itself, this has been dry for probably about certainly a few days, and you can see that firstly the colour hasn't dulled at all. It's incredibly bright. I used a kind of moderately fast drying medium on this and I felt it was dry within a couple of days, which again was so impressive because I just thought sometimes with smooth surfaces paint stays wet on the surface forever. So the paint glided on the surface. It was so easy to paint on. Probably one of the easiest surfaces I found to paint on, much easier than painting on than oil primed linen, because oil primed linen, whilst it's an absolutely incredible surface, is not that easy to paint on. You have to really have some skill and practice on it. But I found that on this type of panel I didn't need to practice at all. I found it so easy to blend. I found that the glazing, I did do a little bit of glazing on the eyes and on the bow and you can see that it just kind of reflects the light really beautifully. It was easy to layer on. I actually thought that whilst you could definitely use this for alla prima, I thought that this looked even more beautiful the more you layered the paint. I was so surprised because I was expecting, if I'm honest, an absolute disaster and it to be awful, and it was the complete opposite. I was so surprised and I enjoyed painting on this surface so much. And there are a lot of artists who talk about using this surface and saying it's the best, and I can completely understand why they think. The aspect of it that was so interesting was that the paint hue showed up so cleanly. There was a real clean effect that it gave, but also it was so interesting because I put down like a very subtle change in grey. So I don't know if you can see here, but there's white obviously, and then I sort of added a tiny amount of black, and it really showed up on the surface, and that doesn't always happen when you paint on canvas. Sometimes the intensity just isn't there and you have to keep sort of painting on the colour and layering the colour, and then you'll get it. But I found that the colours came out really bright, really intense, and the subtle hues were able to, the panel was able to pick up those subtle hues, and it was really surprising to me. To summarise the advantages, it looks really beautiful. The paint just has this almost shimmering quality when it dries. It's so easy to glaze on, and it has a very luxurious feel. I find that if I honestly believe that if I'd worked on this and you know, glazed a lot more, it would look even more kind of amazing and luminous. And I found it so easy to paint on the surface. And I just think it was an amazing experience. And I think those are all the advantages. And I think this would look incredible in a frame. I haven't got a frame that's this size, and I don't normally, you know, I wasn't considering that if I was just testing something out that I would frame the painting. But I am interested to try and varnish this and see what, you know, how that comes out. But all in all, I'm just impressed, and it didn't, and the paint didn't dull. Disadvantages, my friends, I can only think of two. The first one, and this was just something that I found I had to get used to, is the weight. I wouldn't say it's so odd because I'm so used to using panels that are lightweight. I'm going to just quickly pick something up. I have a gesso board here, and when I weigh the two, it's literally like up here and like down here, you know, if that would be the scales. I don't know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? It's so much heavier. That's basically what I'm trying to say. And because I'm so used to using something so lightweight, this does feel unusual. And I think that it would feel unusual to most artists, because even with canvases, even if they're really high quality, the feel of them is pretty lightweight. So it took some time for me to get used to it. And now I'm used to it. Like, I've been moving it around and just, you know, shifting it around everywhere. But I think if it was a bigger painting, maybe more than 12 by 16, anything more than that, I think I would struggle with the weight of it, because I just prefer a sort of lightweight feeling surface. So if weight of a canvas, if weight of a surface is an issue for you, then you might want to skip this. The second disadvantage is the price. Unfortunately, it is on the pricey side. I do think, though, that they are worth it. I don't think that they're a really shoddy, cheap item. I was looking across the panel to see if they had any like dents or grooves, or that they were, you know, rough in certain areas, but not at all. I found it to be a completely super smooth surface. It was all uniform. And sometimes in canvases, I have had experiences where I've bought really expensive linen canvas boards and been so disappointed. Whereas I think this is an expensive item, but it is high quality. Make a quick point that this isn't dye bond, because there is an aluminium panel called dye bond, I believe, and that is a surface that you have to prime. So you have to, it is, I think a lot of painters use it, and you have to prime it with some kind of gesso or something else. And this is completely, it's not, I don't think it's primed, but it's a surface is already prepared, so you don't have to prime it, thank goodness, because I'm not a huge fan of priming things. And so you paint on it straight away. I do not recommend priming it or putting anything on it. It is a perfect surface to use as it is. I think if you mess with the surface, it may change it in a way that would be pointless, because you're paying the money for the surface that they have already prepared. Pretty much it. I mean, I enjoyed it. Oh, am I going to buy it again? I will buy the smaller panels again, I think, because it was just so much fun. I mean, I was able to create a painting so fast because your paint literally glides across the surface in such an easy, fast way. You can cover loads of ground with your paint, and it was just super enjoyable. I probably won't get a bigger panel unless I'm doing an art show, and I might, and I think I'm going to go wild and get a huge panel. But because galleries and things, displaying galleries at the moment is somewhat out off the cards, I don't think I'll be buying huge panels in the near future. But obviously, if I create any more paintings on aluminium, you will see them on my channel. And let me know if any of you have tried aluminium and what you think of it. Still, I can't get over how interesting the surface is. I also believe that you can buy oil-primed linen on this type of aluminium, I've heard. But again, I'm not entirely sure that Jackson sells them, but I have heard that I've seen other people on Instagram. I've seen their art, and then underneath it says something amazing, like oil-primed linen on, like it will say something like French oil-primed linen on aluminium panel. And I just think, that's like probably the highest luxury expense you can get in terms of surfaces. So yeah, I really enjoyed working on this surface. I don't think it will replace my kind of gesso panels or oil-primed linen that I use regularly, but definitely for some fun and to enjoy painting, I will use it again. If you all like this video, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow me on Instagram. Don't forget. And I will see you in the Speedpaint and my demo of this painting right now. I always find it a little tricky to work out what to paint on really small panels. For quite some time, I think about last year, I was painting on 6x6, doing quite a few paintings on 6x6, but this is 5x5, so this is even smaller. And I found a kind of foolproof thing to do was to paint animals or portraits really super close up. It's a lot easier than painting any kind of landscape, because obviously landscape really needs a big canvas. So painting subject matter close up, I find works really well. It stands out really nicely. And in terms of when painting the cat's face, or rather thinking about painting a cat, I really thought it would be good to paint a cat that was white, because white looks amazing on grey. If you've ever painted on toned paper, if you use the white pencil, if you've ever drawn on toned paper, if you ever use a white pencil, the white always really shows up incredibly, and you can add highlights with the white. So that was my plan to start with, and I found it worked really well for this. And I was actually going to paint a snail, and I debated painting a snail for ages. And then I decided against painting a snail because I had already painted a snail fairly recently. And so I thought this would be, pretty easy to do. And plus, this was just a study. I wasn't really thinking it was going to be a masterpiece or anything like that. And when I was working on it, I found the shininess of the surface was so fun to work with. I was able to incorporate the shininess, and I left the background blank, which was not, again, something that I anticipated on doing, but I just really liked the metal look, to actually show the metal. And so that was really amazing. And so if you don't like painting backgrounds, this could be a panel for you, because you could technically leave the metal showing through. So I think that's a good idea if you don't like to work with backgrounds at all. I know some people really don't like painting backgrounds. I'm not a huge fan of painting backgrounds. Really, the subject matter is the most exciting thing for me. And then when I have to do the background, I'm always a bit like, oh, I can't be bothered. And I quite often rush the background, and then I regret it. I've become really good at not doing that now, but in the past I used to. So I do hope you like this painting. I really enjoyed it, and let me know your thoughts. Do you like this painting? Do you think it looks terrible? What do you think? What do you think of this aluminium surface? And I will see you next week. Take care, guys.